Hi, everybody. I am Shelly B, a conservative Black sister surviving in a hot mess world. And today's hot mess, which I really wouldn't say it's a hot mess because I really love this discussion and it was so respectful among women. I just had to show it because it was something positive and I just loved it. And with the climate today, every story I saw was so negative and I just loved this one. So tonight we're going to talk about trad wives, which I didn't even know that word before today, but trad wives versus boss babes. And a trad wife is basically a traditional wife. A boss babe is basically a businesswoman or entrepreneur that is not married and does not have kids. And on Dr. Daft's show, they had a discussion about this. And I just thought that it was such a good discussion. So many opinions on here. I just loved it. I love how respectful the women were to each other. It was so much better than Jubilee discussions. It reminded me of a Jubilee discussion, but it was just so much better. Anyway, before we get into this, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Please, 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 please. I love you. If you would do that for me, just subscribe to the channel. Share it with somebody. Subscribe to the channel. Watch some of the other videos that are there, and you know what to do. Okay, so this whole idea of traditional wives versus boss babes, because it's really interesting because last year I did a live about women that regret having their kids. And then I also did one about women that regret not having kids, and also one about women that regret divorcing their husbands. So it did occur to me and appear to me that it seemed like women actually were happier being in a relationship with a man. And when they didn't have that, they weren't that happy. And I found that a lot of the boss babes, when they got older, they regret, not having the marriage and the kids and all those things. And I want to get right into this because there's a lot I want to show you regarding this. As always, is a lot to unpack. But I just thought that this was such a good discussion. And I just thought it was so uplifting for women, period, whether you are, an entrepreneur with no kids or whether you are, a woman that is a traditional housewife. And it talks a lot about how these women came to these choices and things like that. And I was very impressed with this discussion because it never got heated. No one tried to push their opinions on each other. And it was just a really, eye-opening discussion. A lot of the opinions I was very surprised at. And I just thought that this would be a great thing to talk about today with all of the negativity that's out right now. I couldn't even find, I was like, let me find a feel-good story out here today. And I could not find one. And then I came across this and I was happy to see this because a lot of times women are against each other. And if you're not like-minded, you can't even have a discussion with certain people. And I just thought these ladies handled themselves so well. And I left feeling like both are great positions to be in. So let's watch this for a little bit. Hold on, hold on. Okay, that.
If you were married to a very wealthy man who told you that you...
Hold on. Sorry about it. Okay.
Never had to work or lift a finger because everything is taken care of. He just wants you to focus on raising the children and managing the home. How would that make you feel?
I actually just had this happen to me not that long ago. And he did tell me that. And I said, that's really nice, but I'm still going to work.
Yeah, okay. I had that happen. I declined.
Okay.
I don't think it's realistic to be a trad wife for everyone. I mean, most of America who's just running on one income, like married couples, are living very close to the poverty line. And so I feel like you are all coming from maybe a very, different side of the coin.
And it is true that today, a lot of people don't even have the option to be, traditional housewives and being home and the man work and do everything because the cost of living is just so expensive. And some people have some interesting perspectives of how it got this way because women going into the workforce, it kind of made it where, it had to stay that way in a sense. It was very fascinating. I don't know if we'll get to that part or not because this is a pretty long video, but I did try to pick out some of the best parts of it.
If you were to go to most states or even other countries, if it's two parents and only one is working, like the family is suffering.
I'm gonna hardcore disagree on that because I think specifically in the US.
Now, I really like this girl's perspective on a lot of the things that she said. These girls are very young. I would love to come back to them in 20 years and see what they say. And hopefully they're still in these relationships. But I always did like this girl's perspective.
We have this like just obsession with material things. Like every single family needs 2 cars. We need a $500,000 home. We need to buy certain food. We need designer bags, right? But when you live well below your means, you can have that life. A lot of women will ask me, they're like, how did you become a stay-at-home wife at such a young age? I'm 19. If you saw how much money we make, it's not like, I'm not privileged. I don't have a huge home. We rent. We have 1 car. We stick to an extreme budget, but the lifestyle I live is so worth that. And when I have kids, we're going to be financially set up for me to be a stay-at-home mom and take care of those children.
2 lifestyles, 2 different definitions of fulfillment. Today, trad wives and boss babes sit down to explore womanhood.
I hate how they put these dumb labels on things. Trad wives. I didn't even know what that was. Traditional wife versus entrepreneur or businesswoman. That's what those words mean.
Ambition, fulfillment, family, and identity. Are these choices in conflict, or can they build a bridge between tradition and modern empowerment? I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Daff. Let's get into it. And welcome.
She's big and pregnant.
Hi, my name is Sierra, and I identify as a boss babe.
My name is Val, and I identify as a boss babe.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shanice, and I'm a boss babe.
Hi, I'm Ivy, and I am a trad wife.
Hi, I'm Savannah, and I'm a trad wife.
Hi, I'm Jada, and I'm a trad wife.
Thank you, ladies, for being here today.
I just have to say, all these people are so young. I would love to know how they are decades down the line, and I will explain why later.
The first prompt is, a woman's highest calling is to be a wife and a mother. Okay.
Me personally, I just feel like motherhood and being a wife is something that is unique to women. So I don't necessarily see it as a sacrifice, I think, of the way a lot of people do. I see it just as a privilege and as a wonderful, unique opportunity.
Thank you.
I think it's something biological that a lot of women try to fight, but I think there's a way to incorporate being a mom and being a wife into your life, but it just doesn't have to be your only thing in life.
I mean, I'm a mother that, I would say before I had children, I was kind of like these boss babes, or, just being an entrepreneur or freelancer, building my career and stuff. I made good money. I was on my own. And, I had my child at 40. I was one of the people that didn't want kids and didn't think I would ever have kids. And I definitely now, as a mature person, I would have preferred to be married and be home with my child, homeschool him, and different things like that, because I just couldn't do that, with my career. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't have a husband, and I really wish a lot that I would have chose to have my child a little younger and be married.
I really think that being a mother, particularly, and being a wife, but particularly being a mother, is definitely something that only a woman can do. And it's so amazing. And I think that it's probably one of the most fulfilling things and most beautiful things. But I think for those people who perhaps can't have kids, I think, in short, I'll say we all have our own destiny and our own calling in life. So saying it's
I also say this woman on the boss babe side was the most articulate, and I really liked her position as well. How she explained things, and she is a woman that definitely wants to be this entrepreneur and also have the family and try to balance it. And I like what she had to say.
Highest calling, I don't agree with that, but I do think that it's something so unique to women. It's one of the things that makes us so amazing.
And honestly, as a woman, a lot of people don't want to hear this, but your whole existence in the whole way your body is made up for most women, unless they have some type of medical problem, is to have a baby, is to bring a soul into this realm. That's what your body is for. That's what the periods are for. That's what the ovaries and the ovulation and all that stuff is for. Whether or not you use it, that's on you. And the reason why I like this discussion with these women, because nobody argued anybody down for the way that they felt, and nobody was acting all super feminist and getting all mad and all, crazy about, making these women feel like they're handmaid's tales or something. I just thought it was a really nice discussion. And the link is in the description, and I think you should watch it in full because I thought it was a really lovely discussion.
Yeah.
I will agree with her. I think it is one of the highest callings. I'm a Christian, and I believe that the highest calling is to be just a servant for the Lord. And I think being a mother and a wife is a very selfless act. But just because I kind of agree with like Paul, not everybody's called to be a mother, not everybody's called to be a wife. And because some people cannot have children, I do think God has a beautiful calling for them. So that
I thought that was very beautiful what she said, because it's a calling. You might have a calling to be this mother and raise this child and, do whatever you're going to do. I mean, I feel like some people have a different calling. I mean, that's just, it is what it is. Some people have a completely different calling, and that's their path and their journey. Everybody is not supposed to be a mother. There's some people that are mothers and you wonder why they even were allowed to have children. They're such terrible parents. But, everybody is on their journey. Every child has their lessons in life to learn, and sometimes having a terrible parent is part of it. And I just feel that, I feel like everybody has their own life journey, and that they should be on it. Everybody should respect everyone for that.
That's the only reason why I didn't agree fully.
Yeah, thank you. Would you want your daughter, let's say you had a daughter, would you want your daughter to follow in your lifestyle, the path that you chose? Whether you're traditional wife or your boss babe, would you want your daughter to follow your footsteps?
I would say yes. I would want my daughter to follow in my footsteps or the path that I'm on, but not because of what I do, but I think who I am, which would mean I love that I have freedom, and I love that I have choice, and I love that I wake up every day trying to be my best self. So in that regard, I would want my child.
I feel like you could have that being in a relationship or having a husband, and it all would boil down to the person that you choose, and choosing a person that is a husband's supposed to bring out the best in a wife. He's supposed to be the protector of a woman, the leader of a woman, and lead her in the right way of righteousness and of God and things like that. So if you get a husband that is like that, he's not going to try to hold you back or block you. You're going to be in your best light. He's not going to try to dim your light, and I feel like a lot of people, they just choose the wrong person, or they feel like they're missing something because they have a person that maybe is not motivating them to be in their best light. They're just not matched properly. And a lot of that comes from not knowing who you are in the first place when you get married. And then down the line, you start thinking that, you're something else, that you're discontent with what you have. So it's a double-edged sword. Like, should you get married at a young age or should you wait? It's very questionable.
To wake up doing what she wants, what she desires, having the freedom and safety to do that, and just enjoying herself along her journey.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a 10-year-old daughter, and she's growing up watching me in a completely different way than I watched my mom growing up, where she completely sacrificed everything for us. She went to every single game and did PTA, and she had no time for herself, no time to.
Now, I was a working single mother, but I was just lucky that I worked in an industry where I worked sometimes and I had control over I would work sometimes, and sometimes I would be off for months at a time, and I would be in control of my schedule. I could work as little as much as I wanted to. It was relatively easy for me to get days off. So I would come to my son's games. My weekends, forget about it. Like I said, I was undateable for years because my weekends were busy because I spent the full weekend with my son doing activities with him the whole weekend and stuff like that. It was just, it was just no way I wasn't doing that with the way I was working. So, I feel like you can do it, but it's hard. You got to be committed and you have to have passion for your kids or you're not going to do it.
To work out, no time to be healthy. And so I felt like that gave me a really negative picture of what like a stay-at-home traditional mom wife is like.
Now, she made a very valid point about how women, once they get married, some of them sometimes, even single women when they get married too, when they're single and they have kids, they let themselves go, And I have to say, I'm 54 years old and I'm like 20 pounds over what I would like to be. However, I do try to stay fit. Like I ride my bike every day. I go to the gym, whatever. I do weights and stuff at home. I just don't let myself go like that. But I can see her point because some women do let themselves go when they get married and they're not what their husband married. And then the husband, I don't know, he might cheat or whatever, or makes the wife feel insecure or whatever. And I do feel that you should work on that. Women get offended for that, but I just feel that you should keep that together the best that you can.
Way too self-sacrificing. And she did take it to the extreme. But I would much rather have my daughter doing like me, where she's, finding her way and she's helping other women through working and, like trying to make a better world for women versus just trying to raise a family, which is a high calling, but it just feels like a very, I don't know, like pigeonholed mission.
Restrictive. Did you see your mom like in any way upset about the choice that she made or suffer from the choices that she made? Or did she seem happy doing those things, even if you saw it in a different light?
She was really happy to be a mom, super happy. But I think she also sacrificed a lot for my dad. And that took a lot out of her. Like she was also his caretaker. And for
now, this lady, she kind of goes on and on. I'm going to skip a little bit further forward. But that particular girl, her family is from another country or something like that. And she was talking about how in her culture, it's not just a man and a woman. You have your family and you have a more community to help raise your kids. It's like that in most cultures. European culture is not really like that, but in most other cultures it is. I was very lucky that I made the money to afford to have a lot of assistance for my son. I had a lot of nannies, a lot of people that I paid to help me, but everybody doesn't have it like that, but I do feel that it takes more than just a husband and a wife to take care of the kids where the wife is not overwhelmed, it to me, it's very tricky.
More to the ecosystem of humanity.
Thank you. So we talked a little bit with the wives about their role, but how do you see that? Do you believe that women who prioritize marriage and motherhood are limiting themselves as you talk about wanting to contribute to the world and fulfill your purpose in this way where you're opening doors? Do you feel like not them, but women who choose this lifestyle are limiting themselves?
I don't think that choosing to be a trad wife is limiting yourself as long as you have an out, right? Like as long as you know that if this marriage failed, which is a 50% chance, then you would still have an education or maybe some type of work experience or some type of, maybe you turn your hobby into something that you can make money off of one day. Like I remember when I was a stay-at-home mom.
But I feel like you have to pick somebody where it's not going to fail. I feel like if you start off thinking that it's going to be a failure, it is going to be a failure. So then you probably shouldn't get married if the goal is not to stay together. If you think that it's going to fail, then you shouldn't do it.
I was like, okay, well, we have this guest house. I'll do Airbnb and I'll like sell things on eBay. Like I always made sure that I had my own on the side. So, I definitely feel like you should have some way of your own income. I know a lot of women that are married, they might work in a family business and stuff like that. So I do agree that you should, have your own, because I just think of that, waiting to exhale that she helped him in that business and he, ended up leaving her and took everything. So it's tricky. It's very tricky. That's why I said, I understand both sides of this issue. Do whatever you want to do in your relationships, but just don't become completely financially dependent on someone. There's a 50% chance it could end. And even like
she ain't lying, because 50% of all marriages end in divorce. That's the reason why I would like to see these people, 10 or 20 years from now. And the odds are that of those 3 women, at least one will be split up.
like me, who had everything on the outset, living in Malibu, whatever, when I chose to leave the relationship, all my credit cards were cut off. So, yeah.
Can I comment on that? So I used to be a boss babe. I owned businesses and everything. And I did have that mindset in my marriage, but that was what was causing me to not want to work through hard issues, was because I had an escape route out. So it
That's
was,
true.
I get it, because there are cases of abuse, right? But 50% that are leaving is because people aren't working through hard issues anymore. You can just leave. I know multiple women, more women who leave because I just wasn't happy. My emotional needs weren't met. But I think what we're
And I'm going to show you later where women and most of the time women file for divorce. Most of these women file for divorce and then they get out there and see that there's nothing out there and then they regret and they say that they wish they would have stayed with their husband. Meanwhile, the husband moved on, married somebody else, and is back in a committed relationship. Because I feel like men like that. Because they say women file for divorce more. So it's something there.
doing, because we're still, well, I will speak for myself. As a wife, I still have those skills. I just put it into my marriage. I help him. I'm like his assistant. Like, the reason why he can go is because I'm the one calling, making the phone calls and making sure he's good. But
And that is so true. It's like, I don't know what people think, but a house runs like a business. You understand? And if your husband is some kind of entrepreneur, you're going to be helping him. But it just always brings me back to the wait until exhale thing of like, you're helping him and then the marriage goes south or whatever, and you're left with nothing. So this is where I feel like you should somehow figure out a way to secure yourself just in case. Or what if he dies? Things like that. So it is important to not just put all your eggs in his basket and not really try to make sure that you're secure.
investment isn't into myself anymore. It's into my family. And he's just going to be my number one priority. My family is my number one priority, whereas other people are investing that they're their number one priority. And that's just, I think, the difference is that I'm going to put him and my family first and my skills to that, and then myself second. And that's what I chose to do.
Thank you. Hey, friends, let's talk really quick about something that
There's
could
a long
seriously
ad here about legal stuff. If you need legal advice, you need a legal team, go look at it. But we're going to skip. What did I want to skip to? Okay, let me go here. Sorry, y'all. Sorry.
The next prompt is: financial independence is essential for a woman's safety and self-respect.
And I think that's so funny that the boss babe said yes and the other girls, they all said no.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of kind of what both of you guys were saying in the last prompt, I think a lot of focus is always put on if it just doesn't work out. But in my experience, we should also think about the reality in what if your partner dies. That was my case with my dad growing up. It was my mom and my dad, and he passed away when I was 8. So my mom was kind of left to handle the financial brunt of everything. And to this day, she absolutely has, even though I'm almost 30. But I think with that reality, and at least in my life, it's always been told to me because of that you should always still have your own, make sure you are okay, because you're either going to leave by choice or by force is something I always say. So you're either going to choose to leave or you're going to have to be forced to go. So I think just still having your own, even in those untimely circumstances, is still super important to have.
Why wouldn't you guys think it's important? I was shocked to see how you responded to the prompt, honestly.
So here's the thing. Because I'm a Christian, I look at marriage as a lifelong union. And what has happened in the West specifically is that marriage is no longer a lifelong union. Like she was saying, there's always an out where it's like, oh, I'm not happy anymore. Or he did this, or she did that, or whatever it may be.
I always tell this story. I had met this old couple in Florida one time, and they were old. They had been married for like 60 or 70 years, 60 years or something. It was unbelievable. They were married for a really long time. And I asked them, I said, did you ever feel like getting a divorce? And they both were like, yes. And the husband was like, all the time. And I was like, well, why didn't you ever divorce? And the husband said, because I took a vow to stay with her no matter what. And I was going to honor that. And he also said that they never fell out of love at the same time. And the wife agreed. while one was mad about something and not happy, one was fighting for the marriage, and while the other was fighting for the marriage. So that was just very profound to me, how these people felt. And I feel like this is what these girls are trying to say, that no matter what happens, for better or for worse, if they ain't beating you, you're supposed to work out with your husband. You're that's just what you're supposed to do. And I feel like today people don't see it like that. The first little bit of discomfort, they're out the door. And then a lot of women end up regretting.
And so they don't work through these hard issues. My husband and I, there's absolutely no reason I would leave him. And we have that pact with each other. And we
I mean, she's 19 years old. Let them have a lot more problems down the line. That's why I said I would love to talk to this girl in 10 or 20 years and see, because she's only 19 years old. That is very, very young. I feel like that's too young. I feel like you still need to figure out yourself a little bit before that, get educated and stuff like that, and then do it. Maybe 25 at the earliest.
The work before our marriage to make sure that never happens. Now, as somebody who's in a marriage where my husband is the main provider and he works and I'm a trad wife, right? My bank account is linked with his. He pays me through his paychecks. So I think that you can set up this system to make yourself feel safer.
I think that's great. I feel like you should, as a stay-at-home wife, or even if the husband's a stay-at-home husband, you should pay the other partner, because they're doing a job. They should have their own money to buy things and do whatever they want to do, and have, some kind of allowance or something. I don't feel that it's fair for the wife just to do everything and not have her own little bit of money to spend, how she chooses.
But we just have a relationship where that's not an option for us.
Do you ladies ever feel concerned about not being financially self-sufficient? Like she mentioned, someone passing away or something that's more unexpected in that way. Maybe your husband can't work anymore, God forbid.
Well, I will say that I'm not going to live in fear, because when I have a business, I mean, that it could also, through the economy, I could lose my business. And just living in fear of one day he could leave, or one day he could...
Anything could happen. He could have an injury and get where he can't work anymore. It could be a multitude of things. You don't even want to put that out into the universe for your relationship, but just know that it can happen. And what are you going to do in those instances?
I do believe in being self-sufficient. I think that's important. I think most wives learn how to be okay being alone and learning how to build certain skills through hobbies and stuff like that. So if anything were to happen, I'll be okay.
And a lot of these women on the boss babe side that said that they get bored being a housewife, but how I feel like I'm a person that's in and out of work, especially since COVID and the strike. I've been in and out of work for months at a time. And during that time, I go to the gym. I ride my bike more. I'm more organized. I organize things. I do other projects. I wrote a script. I do these podcasts. Like, you just get yourself involved with things. I spent more time with my son and his activities. I went to his practices, and, I just got involved. I get out the house every day. I make sure I get up and go out every day. You just start finding things to do. I made more friends because I started doing more activities at the gym and stuff like that. So, I just don't see how you can get bored. There's a whole world out there of things to do every day. I started taking chess lessons, different things like that. I love not working. I don't give a darn what nobody say. I do not want to work. I work because I like to have things. I want to provide for my son, but I would rather be home. I love to cook for my son. When I'm home, when my son gets home from school, his food is already made for dinner. I help him with his schoolwork and stuff like that. I make sure he's good, and we talk, we watch movies. I love that. I would rather be with my child any day than at work.
But once again, it's just an investment into your life, and I'm not going to go into it fear-based or be afraid of losing it, or else I will always be looking at certain things and be like, oh, I'm going to leave because I don't know if I can handle that. Instead,
That's true. Okay, I'm going to skip a little bit more to a little bit far. I want to get through this fast because I want to show y'all some other stuff.
Means I don't care if I'm a billionaire, because I think that's just smart. But regarding the piece about like safety for a woman to be financially independent, I believe a woman should be financially independent even if she's single. So that way, when she finds that husband, right, and she can be, because I'm also actually traditional, a helpmate to him, she's doing it for the right reasons, not because she needs to, and also because she can have a quality of partner,
who is better for her and better yoked with her.
That I do agree with. I feel like you should elevate your frequency first. That's why I say you should take some time to get educated, find yourself, figure out what your joys in life are and stuff like that. And then draw to you a better person. Draw to you a person that is more evenly yoked because you know yourself at this point. I honestly feel I didn't really know who I was until recently. You know what I'm saying? Until I really got some time with myself. I feel like over the COVID and all of that, if the time being home with my son and having time alone with myself and like really like meditating and learning how to manifest things and working on my health and body and different things, it elevated me. And I just feel like any person that I would have chose before that would not be yoked to me how I am today. So that to me was profound what she said, because the person I was at 19, like that other girl that's a trad wife, I could never be with any of those people from back then. I feel like I outgrew my child's father so bad to where I just couldn't be around him at all. You know, we just couldn't agree on if the sun was shining, if the sky was blue. You know, that's how unevenly yoked we were. You know, we didn't start out that way, but as you elevate, you know, what can you do? You know, that's why most marriages and in divorce, I feel like people need to know who they are and find themselves first before they do that.
I mean, just most people, I know that you said you can live below your means, but I mean, I think it's like 30% of single income married couples are like living below the poverty line. Like these kids are on welfare. So I think all these girls are looking at like, they want to be a trad wife and they might get married early, but I'm just like, in reality, just please get educated so that if you ever need two incomes, you'll have them, you know? I just think it's really important to have that safety.
But don't a lot of traditional wives also have little things they do at home, or maybe little businesses on Etsy, or just small stuff that you can make money doing? They're not outside of the home, but they can still.
And I also think part of the art of being a trad wife is being frugal and being resourceful and having different little things going on, knowing how to save money. And I grew up, we did not have a lot of money, and my mom was stay-at-home mom, and I loved it. I loved that I would come home from school and she was there, and I'd go to.
And my son says that too. He is glad that I'm home, and it's so funny. When I'm home, he calls me and says I'm on the way home. But when I'm at work, he doesn't do that. He says I'm on my way home or whatever. It's like he's happy that I'm here. You know, I'm happy that I'm here too. You know, to cook for him and do projects with him and do mother things with him, you know. I just don't see how people think I mean, I don't want to judge, but I just don't see how people think that something else is more important than that. You know, my child and being with him is the most rewarding thing I could do. And they're not with you for very long. It goes by so fast. One day you look around and they're going to college. To me, it went by so fast. My son growing up. You know, I remember when my son was a baby, I could hold him. Now my son is almost 6'4", playing football. You know, I just never would have thought it would have went so fast. And now that it's getting to be the end of, you know, he's becoming a man. He got 4 more years of high school, and then he'll be going off to college and off into his life without me. You know, so it's not a huge sacrifice. You know, how long is it? My son is 13. So that, you know, that 18 years goes by quick. And some women, it takes them that long to build their career. I had my son so late in life because I was building my career for 20 years. I had to have my son at 40 years old. But the good thing about being mature like that is that I had did everything I wanted to do with my life, and I didn't feel like I was missing nothing, and I could devote 100% of my time to my son. You know, my career was already built.
Go to my friends' houses and they had nicer houses and they could do more fun things, but their mom was never there or she was gone. And I always, you know, since I was a little girl, I've just appreciated her being home and her sacrifice, because she could have worked and we could have had more money. But I love that she did that.
Thank you for sharing. And the next prompt is, I do not need a man to feel complete or fulfilled. Okay, anyone can speak. Whoever feels passionate about this.
So like I was saying before, I think a lot of obviously how we're feeling and our opinions are completely shaped on our experiences. So mine, particularly because I was raised by a single mom, I think seeing the way in which she still dedicated her time to me, and she had time to do that because she was an older mom too. So I think she got to live her life to a certain point. And then she had me, because I got to grow up with a woman who was able to take care of herself and allow me to experience the world as well. And she didn't have a man by her side. I actually never saw my mom date a man like in my.
That's true. I never really saw my mom date a man either. She had one friend, but I never saw him in that way. Like, you know what I'm saying? She just didn't expose us to that. So I commend my mom for that. My mom definitely was a different parent than I was. You know, my mom, you know, she had a lot of patience. She had 2 kids. She always gave us a nice place to live by herself. It was always kind of quiet at home, calm. You know, we didn't really fight like that and stuff like that. You know, I don't ever remember my mom ever yelling at me or anything like that. I might have got smart or whatever, getting loud and stuff, but my mom never carried on. So I commend my mom for that. Shout out, mommy. I love you.
Experience after my dad, I think that was it for her. But because I saw that, it really always taught me that I did not need somebody else, regardless of who it is, a friend, a boyfriend, anything to make me feel fulfilled as a person. Because at the end of the day,
I feel like that is very important too. That's why I say you got to know yourself. Because I feel like if you're fulfilled with yourself and happy with yourself and can spend time with yourself, you're not going to be worried and feeling insecure about your husband's doing and stuff like that, because you're content and you're secure in yourself. You know, a lot of that comes from insecurity too, you know, and I just feel like you just have to love yourself and feel secure with yourself. And then no matter what they do, even if they do something shady to you, it ain't going to break you, because you have, you hold yourself in a high regard. You know, I just take life as everything is a lesson, every situation in your life, good or bad, is for a lesson, and you take the lesson from it and you keep on moving. You don't let nothing break you, period.
day. And I hate to be so morbid, but I'm just always thinking about this, but in a positive way. We are going to go by ourselves. There's nobody else that goes with
That's
us.
right.
So you have to feel fulfilled within yourself.
That's right.
Thank you.
I would agree with that, actually, as somebody who got married really young, which is why I agreed with the
I'm going to
prompt.
skip a little bit to the end of this, because I want to show y'all some other stuff. Because this is long, but like I said, you should watch it.
Yeah. Please.
That choose career and are moving away from the trad wife. They don't want to be a trad wife. Do you think that's like fear-based? I'm afraid of a man leaving me, abusing me. Do you think that those decisions are mostly fear-based decisions?
Yeah, a lot of women that I hear, especially because I did do it kind of opposite and have the kids in the trad wife life first, they just were super, super self-reliant. And that's why they started to be a boss babe. Like, they saw their mom be a single mom and they were like, I'm not going to ever have that happen to me. Or they grew up super poor and they were like, I'm not going to have that happen to me. And that's the entire reason behind it. It doesn't come from like wanting to build something. Whereas me, I'm like, I'm a mom and I want to build because I've experienced, like this child and all like the world I want to see for her. But it's very,
the only reason why, and I will continue to be a boss babe, like I have to, because I have to create something good to leave my son. If I had a husband that was creating that for him, I would not be doing it at all. I would be home with my son.
very opposite. And I think they also don't think they can have both.
Yeah, I was gonna say I disagree. I'm glad you put that caveat, because I think a lot of women, that's at least was the deal with me. I felt like, no, I can't have a family right now. Like, I can't have this career right now. And I was like, I'm an educator. I have businesses, but
I
I'm
have to say, I mean, I ran after my career, a music career. I was a hairstylist. I did that for many years and ran a business and did freelance work. Then I got in the film industry. And I have to say, every last one of them careers, I'm not doing it right now. So I made a way for myself in those careers and then got there and was like, you know what I'm saying? So had I took those years and, and been married and had a successful marriage, I feel like I would have been in a better position. That's just my opinion.
also an actor, right? So I had all these goals. And one of the goals, for example, was like, I want to be in a movie in theaters. And like, I will be the first to say, like, when it happened, I was not as fulfilled as I thought. I'm very proud. I have no
That is
regrets
so true.
necessarily.
It's like you have these dreams and these goals, and when you get it, you realize, damn, it's not what I thought it was going to be. You know, like I wanted to be a model so bad, and I just wanted to prove, because I was one of those kids that got bullied. They make fun of me. Oh, you got a big forehead, this, that. Oh, you're too big to model. You know, you're not tall enough. Just everything. And I just went, and I feel like more than anything, I just want to prove that I could do it. Once I got in a couple magazines and catalogs and got paid for some things, I was like, this blows. I don't really like this. This is not what I thought it was going to be. And I just didn't really, you know, stick with it. You know, but doing hair was always my passion, and that's why I still do it to this day. I do love it, but you know, I kind of think my career has run its course. It's time to do something else now.
But I think that a lot of things, that's just a small example, but like a lot of things I look back and I'm like, yeah, you could have done both, but society sometimes says it makes you feel like you have to choose. So I wasn't like as scared I was going to be abused or anything. I just thought like, if I get married or something like that, I can't happen. I think we honestly don't give men enough credit because, again, the right man, a God-fearing man, he can be a leader, you can be his helpmate, and he's still going to want to see you win and build you up.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Do any of you ladies on this side think?
Let me skip this to this part right here. I gotta get through this.
The final prompt is, there is no one right way to be a woman.
Now, today, it seems like there's a huge question on what is a woman, because now, you know, anybody can say they're a woman, you know, and they don't have no definition of what a woman is. The lines are very blurred on what a woman is, and they have all these stereotypical ideas of what it is to be a woman, and it's like, it's a clown world to me. And it's just so funny how the traditional wives said that no, there's only one way. So listen to this.
Oh, okay. Well, anyone can speak.
I want to hear from them.
I'm shocked again. I mean, so I said disagree because I think there is a right way to be a woman, and I don't think it's trad wife or boss babe, but I think it's a woman of God. I think God called us to serve him and to nurture the world. And
she shut it down with that one to me, because she said it's not a way to be a boss babe. It's not to say that you're a traditional wife or you're a trans woman or you're this kind of woman and that kind of woman and I'm a black woman. You're supposed to be a woman of God first. And there's a lot of people that don't believe in God, but I would be one of those people that agree that that should be first.
Serve other people, whether that's with your family, whether that's with building a business or, you know, teaching children, whatever it may be. I think women have such a specific gift that was given to them from God, and it would be a shame for us not to use that in the right way.
I think when you put it like that, I can agree.
Yep.
But if we're adding on to like having children,
but she's adding on, and she's not adding on nothing. She said God first, period. That's what it is. Nobody's adding on anything. There's no, she just said, they just said there's no right way to be a woman except to be a woman of God. If you start there, everything else is going to fall in place for you, period. Everything is going to fall in place for you no matter what you're doing. If you're following God and you're doing God's will, whether it is to have kids and be a mother, whether it is to be a minister, or whether it's to be a teacher or entrepreneur or whatever, and like the woman in the middle says she want to help people and help women. If you are in your divine purpose, you're good.
or something like that, I would disagree. Only for the case of women that cannot have children.
You're 100% right. And
There we go. Women that can't have children. She just said it. If you are, how to be a proper woman is to be the woman of God, because the woman that can't have children obviously has some other divine purpose. That's between her and God to do whatever it is that she's supposed to do, the righteous thing for God, her mission for God, her divine mission or whatever. So I
agree with you on that, because people can ask the question, you know, well, why am I infertile if our highest calling is to have children? Well, God may have done that for a reason.
Exactly.
You know, and we can't discredit them and their womanhood because of that.
That's why I agree.
To me, the highest calling for anybody is to be a man of God and a woman of God. and then everything else will fall in place. If you're doing that, everything else is going to fall in place. But most people are not doing that. They're everything else but that. And then wonder why their lives are a mess, and wonder why, you know, their relationships don't work, and they wonder why their kids don't like them, and they wonder why they have.
I would think that there's not one right way to be a woman.
Well, what do you think about the women who just don't want them? Like the women, you know, like the childless TikToks. Have you seen them? They come up for me and I have
But
no.
this is the thing. A lot of women, I'm going to end this right here. No, just one more part. But a lot of women, this is what I'm saying. A lot of women say they don't want children. I was one of them. I would not talk to guys with kids. I still don't like to date guys with kids unless their kids are grown. I will not talk to no guy with no little kids. I don't like that. And when I had my own child that was young, I didn't want to be bothered with nobody because my child took up all my attention. But I find that a lot of the women in their youth that say they didn't want children, they don't want to be married, when they get old, and I'm a mature person, they wish that they had the kids, they wish that they got married, they're lonely, and all of that. Because as you get older, the dating pool gets worse. It just does. And a lot of women are lonely. And they regret. Do the research.
No idea why, because I love being a mom, but I always see them. What do you ladies think of those women who are like anti-children and trying to also spread that to other women?
Yeah, I think it's just very toxic, because I don't have a problem with someone not wanting to be married or have a child. My problem is, how are you helping society? If you're going out and you're just sleeping with random men and all this other stuff, you're polluting and making society worse. So I think the right way to be a man or a woman is, how are we helping society as a whole, instead of so selfish and focus on what's good for me. That's I think the right way to be a man and a woman.
I think people who like hate children, man or woman, I think you're wrong. You are living womanhood the wrong way. You are living manhood the wrong way. I think there's something wrong with people who don't like children. People who like putting people who are infertile in the same crowd as those people, I think is so. I think a lot of people do that. I'm not saying you guys did, but I think a lot of people do that, and I think people who can't have kids are every bit of as woman as me or you or anyone.
Exactly. They always throw the women in that can't have kids into the argument, but it doesn't have anything to do with it. They're still women. They still have ovaries. Even if they don't have ovaries, they still have those chromosomes. They're women, period. And, you know, it's just not their destiny. And sometimes some women adopt children. Some women, they do other things that's fulfilling to humanity in replacement. Sometimes women are not supposed to have children because they're supposed to do something so big for humanity, or supposed to do something else that would take up their time. Only God knows the destiny and what somebody's supposed to achieve.
An activist. I'm also like an influencer in some regards, but I work with like anything from the Children's Institute, or not even listed, but I do feel like I'm doing God's work. And I've become, before, I didn't even know, like the thing of the influencer came around as that happened, and it kind of just naturally merged with my role as an entertainer. So I just built this platform. But me doing the work, I've been an activist since I was like 17. So me just wanting to fulfill my kingdom calling, God literally putting.
He said kingdom calling. I know that's right. So when you're doing God's will for you, you're good. You're going to be good.
These desires in my heart, like the Bible says, God gives you the desires of your heart. People think he's going to give you material things. No, the things that you want to do, your talents, the things that are pulling on you, that's God. And the things that pull on me are helping people around the world in a variety of ways. And so for me, that was one of the things that actually, in both those situations, when I was almost engaged in Europe and when I was in my previous marital situation, well, I said, I'm not standing up to my kingdom calling. I got to step out of this. I'm not standing up to my kingdom calling. So I wholeheartedly disagree with that. And I'll just close by saying, I think that when you are in your calling, you will attract someone who is equally yoked. That's and the right person.
And God will send you the person that's going to walk with you in that assignment. Period.
God will be, my prayer was, God, if he's not my husband, remove him.
There you go.
Reveal it and
that.
remove it. And then when you get that person, continuously praying, God, be at the center of this. So I think it pulls you closer to God because you have to learn to worship the creator and not the created.
Woo! I'm gonna leave it right there, sis. I love that. Worship the creator and not the created. I love that. If it's not my husband, remove him. I think that's fabulous, you know, and I feel like that what that young lady said at the end just brought it all the way home for me. I just want to show y'all real quick because there's a lot of women out here, you know, and they talk about, you know, the women that, you know, don't want kids and all of this and that. And, you know, they're complaining that, you know, they never want to have kids and stuff. But this is a video that I had did from a while back about women that regret not having children and being married. You know, once they got older and hit that wall and hit that window of opportunity, then they're like, damn, I wish I would have had kids. Damn, I wish I would have had a husband. I felt played. You know, I have this career and now I'm lonely and all this and that. Listen.
She was saying that when she put this article out, she started getting attacked by people who called her stupid and selfish. And
so just a backstory. This was a woman that was a big old activist for feminism and a big old activist for not having kids and a big old activist for women, this, that. And when she got old enough, she started having discernment. You know, what does it say? I'm 38 and single, and I recently realized I want a child. I'm terrified I missed my opportunity. And she realized that she may have made a mistake and that she might have missed her opportunity to have children and stuff like that. Well, women attacked her. They attacked her terribly because she changed her mind.
Awful names. And that is
that's what woke people do. That's what liberals do. That's liberal mentality. You don't even have to tell me who it is just by the behavior. They were all gung-ho for her when she was like, I don't need a man, you know, I'm a man, you know, I want to do man shit. They were all for her then, but when the reality of her life and her opinion was that she regrets that lifestyle, she regrets that narrative, and that she wished she didn't listen to that shit, and she wished that she would have did things different so she could have had her family. Everybody attacked her.
The stupidest thing you could ever hear. This is a woman who she says she doesn't want to put it all on feminism because she made her own choices. I respect that tremendously. But I also want to defend her a little bit and be like, dude, you were lied to and tricked. How were you supposed to know? You were a young person. You were supposed to have guidance from your elders.
Exactly. That's the problem. Why so many people don't like having children is because they didn't have any guidance. They didn't have anybody to tell them, no, don't have a baby as a teenager. No, maybe you should get an education so you'll get that feeling out your system that you missed out. Go have fun, you know, for a couple of years and then have your kids and settle down and keep your ass at home and take care of your kids. Get an education so you can educate your damn kids. How about that? You know what I mean? So you're not a complete idiot and you have no life experience. So you have some type of foundation to teach your kids. And the other, you know, I just don't see why anybody want to have a child so early these days. Back in early times, you had more support of your family and stuff like that. Today is just a different world completely. So I understand why women want to wait later, but I just disagree completely with having kids when you're a teenager in your 20s.
And she said, I'd go back to those women and ask them, what did you mean by this? She was tricked. And now she is acting as an elder who's experienced and giving that warning, saying, hey,
that's why I say, talk to these women that don't want kids and don't want a husband until they don't need a man when they get 50, 60 and all that. You're going to want somebody. You need help. You know what I'm saying? You want somebody to grow old with and spend time with outside of your cats. You know? You want human connection with people. You're not going to want to just be alone. You know what I'm saying? And have like these trivial relationships with people all over the place like you do when you're young, you know? And you don't have no kids, nobody to watch out for you, nobody check to make sure you're good. It's a lonely existence. I have friends like that. I know people like this. I'm not going to be like that. I don't care what nobody say. I'm not. Not. And that's that. No. There's no way.
I experienced.
That shit is true. As you get older, you change your mind. You get discernment. You have wisdom. And you know, people get attacked for that. I see these videos all the time. Women for all my friends attack me all the time because I'm always like, I need a man for everything. I can't think of one thing I don't need a man. You don't need a man. Yes, I do. I need a man for everything. You tell me what you don't need a man for. Unless you're a lesbian, what the hell don't you need a man for? Make it make sense. Child. Over the world, either they regret having kids or they regret that they didn't have kids. And the only reason, the ones that regret having their kids, the only reason why they regret having their kids is the conditions of which they had the kids under, be it that they chose the wrong husband, or they had their kids too early, or they didn't feel like they lived their life, they felt like they were missing something. Maybe they didn't get their education, or maybe they didn't get out there and get to have a little bit of fun first and travel and enjoy their life before they had kids. They feel like they're longing. You know what I mean? So those are the only reasons why.
Now, her life isn't for everybody, but it's important that message is out there.
So there you have it, folks. The reason why I'm showing this, because I don't feel there's anything wrong with being a boss babe or an entrepreneur. I definitely don't feel there's no reason why women can't be an entrepreneur and balance it, be a businesswoman and balance it, out. And but I feel like when your kids are young, you need to make a commitment to your family. Like, you really do. I really wish when my son was young, I was there a lot more. I really did my best to balance it out. I had a lot of support and help. I mean, it cost me a ton of money, but I did have good support and help for my son. And I did try to balance it out. And thank God I work in an industry where sometimes I'm there in the morning, sometimes I'll be there at night. Sometimes I have days off and I get off early. Like, it balanced out. It worked out. And I had some really good nannies that work with me that taught me a lot of things. They were mature women, and I had a couple of young ones too that were really good with the technology and stuff like that. So it worked. It came together. But I know everybody don't have it like how I had it. But I just wanted to show you a little bit more about this, because I feel like today, though, a lot of women today are embracing being traditional wives now, because they don't want to work. They don't want to do man shit no more. They don't want to be, they don't want to be responsible for everything anymore and compete with a man and all of this and that. These young girls today don't want to do it. But the messed up thing about the young ones today is that they don't want to work just because, and they don't want to work, and they don't really want to run the family either. They just want a man to take care of them, and they don't really want to learn how to cook, and they don't really want to clean and do. I don't know how society is going to go.
Woman leaves a relationship, it's all fun, fine, and dandy at the beginning.
This just made me think of Tamara Mary, how she, when she divorced, she was living her, acting like she was living her best life, and she was so happy. And then now she kind of realizing that, hey, it ain't all that. You know what I'm saying? And you ain't got the options that you thought you had and all of that, and it's a rude awakening for a lot of women.
Seems like she's the one who's living it up. Oh yeah, I've relinquished my energy from this man. Finally free again. The streets are glad to have me back. They think the grass is greener on the other side. They get a bench, look over the fence. It's dust. She's watching her single friends who don't have any commitment.
And that's the next thing. Your single friends are going to get you messed up, because they're going to be always the ones to tell you, I never tell my friends to leave their man. I always tell them to work it out, unless he's beating you or something like that. I feel like almost anything can be worked out. Anything can be forgiven, and any person could change, especially my friends that got married very young. It's like, you have to go through shit. Like, sometimes they cheat and all that. You're going through shit. You're young. Come on. You have to have forgiveness and understanding in a relationship. It's not going to be like Disney. You're going to have, like one of the girls said, a lot of couples, they don't want to deal with the hard issues, and, they don't really believe in for better or for worse. You know what I'm saying? So it's, it's a lot, and that's why I feel like you should be a little bit more mature before you marry. But I feel like you should, men and women should, because it's better for the kids. Look at society. Society is a bunch of crazy, weak ass people. They need men in their lives. They need a family structure,
commitment, and they're being influenced by all these other women. Now you say that you were lacking the fun, you were lacking the excitement out of the relationship. You decide that you're going.
A lot of those girls said that in that other piece, that they got bored in their their marriages and relationships. And I feel like you're going to be even more bored alone with nobody to help you, and you're going to be doing man shit, and your ass going to be getting old, and you're not going to like it.
take a step back and go and be out there in these streets. And now they're looking at you as a sneaky link. They're looking at you as a fun time. And now here you are, it was your idea, and you've given somebody else the opportunity that you are now looking for, which you already had.
That's true. She said you out here looking. That's the thing. That is so true. Like women, they divorce or leave their relationships and then they go back out in the streets to look for what they already had. And men move on. They move on fast and get in another relationship because men, they really do like to be in relationships. It seems more than women because more women file for divorce. It's crazy. So I just want to, and the only reason why I'm showing this is because I just know that as people age, they change their minds. They change their minds. Once you come down off of that, of thinking that you're missing something, and you realize that you're not missing anything, then you're going to be like this lady. And I'm guarantee you, I see it all the time. I've been doing hair for over 30 years, and I've had women get in my chair and tell me lots of things. And this is real shit of how women, you know, they think the grass is greener, and it's not. A man can always get another woman to come with him, especially if he's going to take care of her and do for her and stuff like that. You understand? Women don't have it like that. It's different for us. You know what I mean? And it's like a lot of women come, they talk about what they bring to the table, and they think men care about their job, their degree, and how much money they made. Men ain't even looking at that. They're looking at what you're going to do for them emotionally and, you know, sexually, and how good you're going to look and turn them on. And, you know, can you help them in their business and different, you know, it's not just being eye candy and sitting there all day doing nothing. It's like, what do you bring? And the stuff that women think men care about is not what they care about. What we care about is not what they care about. That's why you have to really listen to Kevin Samuels and people like that, because they're telling you what it is, but women don't want to believe that. And then they wonder why a man will take a young, broke woman because, you know, I guess they can mold her, or she's more agreeable to listen to what he wants her to say. Now, what he wants her to do. Now, as this young woman gets older, he gonna have the same problem with her, and she probably gonna feel the same way about being bored too. But again, men always have options. He just go get another even younger woman. That's just what they do, you know. So if you're married and you have somebody, you should really try to work the relationship out and stay together. Because honestly, men too, some women don't. I mean, it can be hard for men too. There's men, they complain the same way, that they want a woman that's not a gold digger and looking for them to take care of them and stuff. As you get older, it's just not going to be cute. Get it together, stay together. Listen to this lady.
Why did I divorce my husband? I divorced my husband because I was making a certain amount of money. I divorced my husband because I thought I didn't need him anymore. I divorced my husband because I had this senior position at work.
And see, this is what's wrong with women. They're in competition with men. And that is why a lot of men don't want a boss babe a lot of the time, because the women think that they're the man in a relationship. And I'm sure that men don't like that, you know, that they're competing with this woman. It's just crazy. I feel like Tamara and her husband, that's what was happening. They both had the same career. And I felt like, you know, she kind of looked down on him when he wasn't really shining. But then when he started shining, she was in competition with him and she was mad. You know what I mean? So who wants that dynamic? Who wants to be bothered with that?
Work and thought I held the same position at home. I divorced my husband because I thought I was better than him because I had my degree now. I divorced my husband because I thought a successful marriage meant I was here and he was down here. That is not success. That's fucking sickness. I found myself divorced and out there looking for love in all the wrong places, fucking this one and that one and that one and that one and this one and that one, and my body count going up and my value going down. I'm just gonna call it like a TI is. All the while, my husband done found somebody else building.
Y'all just really pay attention. I'm telling you, when men get a divorce, they get another woman almost right away because there's more women that want a man. There's more single women out here and stuff like that. And a man will get right back into another relationship with a woman to take care of him and do what he want to do. And he might even be happier in a second marriage because now he knows what he really wants and looking for. And then he'll be with this woman till he damn dead. You know what I'm saying? Or he'll marry another woman. I've seen it where women be with a man for decades and then they break up and they think that the grass is greener and the man go off to marry someone and be with her to the day they die. You know what I'm saying? So you got to really think about this and think about how you can balance your career and your husband and your family, because that is really what you need to do as women, you know. And I'm just going to tell you, as a mature woman, I'm 54 years old, you know, I chose my career, you know, and thank God, you know, I was able to have a child, and I didn't realize how rewarding having a child would be. Cause like I said, I never thought I wanted children, but, you guys gotta have discernment out here, because it's not gonna be good when you get old and you don't have no kids, you don't have a husband, you don't have nobody to check on you. I mean, there's no guarantee that your kids are gonna like you once they're grown, but if you're a good parent to your kids, they will.
A relationship and building a life with them. I should have stayed married to my husband. I felt like I was on this dark road with no street lights, pitch dark, and I couldn't find my way and didn't know which way to go. I felt lost. I felt like I was walking barefoot on that dark road with pebbles and hot rocks sticking my foot. I felt hurt. I felt alone, because every time he and that one and this one and that one left my bed, I was alone all by myself. And which was supposed to.
And listen, some of my male friends say the same thing. You know, they just date women and stuff like that, but they don't have, you know, any real, you know, want to be with them. It's just something to do to keep them from being bored and alone. But you're going to end up being alone eventually, you know. And if those people are not people that you want to marry, like that girl said, this is not my husband, remove him from our life. You know what I'm saying? And that's the mentality that we should have and not waste our time.
Be soft and comfortable for me. My pillow, it was now filled with tears. I should not have left my husband.
There you have it, folks. So I definitely am a person that believes that you can balance, and like I just gonna keep holding on to what the boss babe girl said at the end, that if this man is not my husband, remove him from my life. Because if you are a person that believes in God and spirit, and you know that you have a divine purpose in life, because that everybody has a divine purpose in life, and if you once you get in that frequency where you know that, a person is going to come to help you in that purpose, whether it be a spouse or a business partner or some type of relationship that is going to be binding to get God's work done. You understand? So it may not be a commitment of, you know, a marriage, but a business can be like a marriage too. You understand? And you might connect with somebody like that, and you might do business together to the day y'all both kick the rocks. You know, kick the bucket or whatever, you know. So you just got to think of the most important thing, like that girl said, is God and your purpose within God's will for you. And I'm telling you, I've learned that when you are doing God's will, the universe, God, whatever you want to say, is going to send you all of the people that you need to do what he got to do. You don't even have to worry. You don't even have to worry about the money, the people, the team, or whatever. It's just going to just form around you, because you know that's your divine team that is just going to form around you. That's what I've learned. You know what I mean? People always, you know, they want to cast doubt on your life and say, oh, you know, that's too hard, you're not going to make it, and this, that, and the third. I had somebody tell me, you know, I'm going against my union, I'm doing this, I speak out too much, this and that. And I had to tell them, I said, I don't have worldly worries. I don't. I really don't have worldly worries. I don't worry about what is going to go wrong. I only focus on what is going right. And so far, God has kept me afloat. My divine spiritual team of protection around me is no joke. And I can't be stopped unless it's God's will. And the most impossible things I have been able to achieve because of this. And God has put some very important people in my path that are better than family, that I trust more than family, and they're like a divine team that is just like Voltron. So I say all that to say, I just feel like the most profound thing out of everything that was said today is what that girl said. If it's not your partner, and if it's not your person, your wife, your husband, pray that they're removed from your life. Pray that they're removed from your frequency, and they will be. You're gonna see. You're gonna see all of the people just drop off, and the people that are left, you're gonna know that's your divine team. That's gonna help you in your purpose, God's purpose. And I don't know who's watching out there that needs to hear this. Focus on what is going right in your life. You know, be it a boss babe, a traditional wife, and all this and that. That's irrelevant. Just focus on you being your best in the image of God and doing God's purpose for your life. And I guarantee you, everything's going to come together what you need. Everything's going to come together what you need. So with that being said, I'm going to get on off of here. I love you. This means I love you in sign language. And I do. If you sat through this with me, even if you didn't sit through this with me, if you please, if you're just joining, like, share, subscribe to the channel, please. You can see my videos on TikTok. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on TikTok because they censor like crazy. YouTube censors like crazy too. I feel like I'm shadow banned on everything, really, honestly. I don't even know how I get, how anything gets through, but it is what it is. I digress. So anyway, I am Shelly B. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you all. And, walk in your divine purpose. Try to figure out what that is. And most of the time it's going to be with helping people, assisting people on something. It's usually a selfless thing. It usually is not just about you. You understand? And I'm telling you, the more you come in line with that and the more you elevate your frequency, the better you're going to have, the better people you're going to have around you, and the more help and assistance you're going to have in your life. And the more joy you're going to have in your life. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go. I love you. I am Shelly B.